When I was a kid, I used to go to the library all the time. I went every weekend to learn Vietnamese, and then afterwards I would walk around and check out all the manga and the comics and the different gaming magazines, and also just kind of like look at what books to read. I was really into YA novels, Harry Potter and Aragon and stuff like that. But as an adult, I kind of lost touch with reading after, kind of like losing connection to a local library since I moved so much for work. Now that I'm back in Houston and have like a place to stay, I have gotten a library card again, which has helped a lot with just getting back into reading and checking things out. At this current phase in my life, we're starting to think about like parenthood and one day having kids. So I've been more attracted to books and stories that are about 30 somethings and kind of tackling that challenge and that phase in life. So I just wanted to talk about today a couple books I read recently from the library and like audiobooks that really resonated with me and kind of touched upon those challenges in life. So the first one is called Family Style: Memories from an American from Vietnam by Thien Pham. Okay. And it is essentially about the story of Thien Pham. It's like a memoir of him traveling from Vietnam to America and what it was like growing up and all the different phases of his childhood. This one hit really hard because I'm Vietnamese and my parents also immigrated here. So it was really tough seeing kind of his parents and his family struggling and just trying so hard to get by and just fighting for a couple dollars here and there. The perspective is from Thien Pham, and I would say it starts out when he's maybe like 5 years old. The most harrowing scene is on the boat when it's him and his family and their boat is raided by pirates. The way he frames the entire story is through his experiences with food. So on that particular scene, his mom hid a rice ball for him. And after they got raided by pirates, she gave him that rice ball, and he remembers just how delicious and sweet it was and how that is what stuck with him and not necessarily the intense traumatic experiences that he went through during that time. As he grows older, I just continued to feel the empathy from both him as a child and how you don't really notice all the crazy shit that's happening around you, but also just seeing how hard his mom and his dad worked to get them in. There was one section where they were in a kind of like a camp where the speaker overhead would say all the names of the places that were sponsoring all the families in Vietnam. And it was just crazy seeing all the cities, and San Jose and LA, but also a lot of them had Houston, Texas, which is where my family lives. And just kind of reading about it hit really close to home because it just made me think about my own parents and the things that they went through for their children to succeed in America. That book really helped me connect with that cultural background for me, and on the parenthood side, feel what it was like to go to a country where you don't understand the language, you don't know the culture, you don't understand the forms and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, I think it really helped me view my parents as people that kind of struggled against insurmountable odds. The nice thing, though, is that it is a comic book and it is written and drawn like comic strips. So even though the themes are really heavy sometimes, it's drawn in a way that's really light and fun and sometimes really, really funny. Like, his parents not only struggle, but they also have fun times too. And especially at the end when he draws his parents reacting to reading the book. The humor and the kind of light stuff, like there's a section when he's a teenager just playing video games in a video store. all of that kind of stuff gives an accessible window into the more cultural and intense subjects. And I really appreciated that because it helped give a heavy topic that's really close to me, something that could have been too much, but made it accessible for me to kind of like reach in and empathize with my own family. The next book I want to talk about is What to Do When I'm Gone by Suzy Hopkins and Haley Bateman. Haley asks her mom, Suzy Hopkins, like she's like super worried because she doesn't know what she's gonna do when her mom passes away because there's no guide for that. So she asked her mom to write a step-by-step guide on what to do after she passes away, and it's broken down by days. So for example, day 1, make fajitas. It's interesting because the theme of food also is really strong in this book, just like the previous one. Oh, like, hey, here's why you should be making this particular food. Here's how to make it. Here's the ingredients. But here's how this recipe will help you deal with your life's current challenges. And this book is really beautiful and, of course, about something really, intense and devastating. But I really appreciated, again, the humor and the lightheartedness that the book approaches really serious topics. And it was interesting because while the previous book was from the perspective of the child seeing his parents, this is about a mother talking to her adult daughter and just, here's all the things you will experience as you're dealing with my death. Here is what you should be doing to not think about it. Here's what you should be doing to honor it. Or, don't worry about it, I'm dead. It doesn't really matter. And it plays a lot with form, which is really fun. There's a section that's about, here's what people will say, and here's what you should not say. There's also sections that feel like to-do lists. So this one's like, make a decision. Here's how you make a decision. And it's really beautiful because as you go on, it goes to day 100, day 1000, day 10,000. Eventually, it's about the mom talking about her own experiences, how to kind of deal with being older through the lens of giving advice to her daughter. And that part was really beautiful because it really just paints that idea that, hey, parents are just human. Parents have no idea what they're doing. They're just trying their best. And with that, it really, again, helped me take off that burden and the weight and the responsibility of, you have to be a perfect dad. You have to be a perfect parent. You can't fuck this up at all. Don't say one wrong thing. And humanity is all just trying to figure it out and taking it day by day. So I found it really beautiful and I loved reading it. And the final book I wanted to talk about is A Heart That Works by Rob Delaney. So this is definitely the most intense one. It's written by Rob Delaney, the actor and comedian, and it's about how he lost his son, Henry, to a brain tumor. It's such a heavy topic and it's so intense, but it's written about and talked about in a very light and funny way. I mean, I guess it kind of makes sense because Rob Delaney is a comedic writer, but I was extremely impressed about how he could kind of straddle that line. The most interesting part of it is that he does actually explore all the different facets of what it's like to lose your child and going through that initial grief of getting the diagnosis, but also talking about, similar to the last one, there's this section where him and his wife rate people's responses, and they talk about, oh, this was a 0 out of 10 response, where this guy said, oh, my grandpa also had a brain tumor but survived. So there was like this interesting aspect of like going through this experience non-linearly and seeing how he tackled the challenges, but also how intense it was. It really helped me from a parenthood angle just see, what is the worst thing that could possibly happen. But also he talks about his son with such love and adoration and such beauty, even though his son is going through such horrific things that would be terrible just for an adult. There's passages where he describes the joy that his son has, even going through all of this and going through all of these procedures and all of these tests. The joy that he would still have with the nurses, it made me extremely emotional. And by the end, even though it's such an intense book, it actually gave me a new perspective on parenthood, and really it ends with hope. There's a section at the end where he talks about being a parent. You know, there's all the hard stuff, but he talks about how you already deal with that hard stuff now. You know what it's like to be extremely tired. You know what it's like to be extremely stressed and to have a lot of responsibility, but you've never experienced this much love before. You've never experienced highs like this. So it was really great hearing that, and it gave me a perspective, but also a really hopeful perspective, even from the darkest of times. I've read a couple other books as well about parenting that I didn't mention, so I just wanted to shout them out really quick. Single Mothering by Härmälä, Go to Sleep, I Miss You by Knisley, and How to Baby by Liana Finck. All of these comics and all of these books tackle really intense, devastating topics about parenthood in a really fun and light way, and it's extremely impressive how they could do that. All these different perspectives have started to paint a mosaic of what parenthood can be and what it could potentially be for me. So it's been really awesome, getting back into reading and reading these books, because they've been extremely beautiful and have helped me just see the people around me in new and different ways, and have given me a lot to think about. But yeah, thanks for watching, and I will talk to y'all later. Peace.
Okay.